The night Ryder Hale kidnapped me, I was stupid enough to think dying would have been easier. Turns out living with him, breathing the same damn air, and trying not to feel anything at all was much, much harder. I didn't scream when his truck swallowed the dark highway, didn't fight when he hauled me onto his property in rural Montana like I was some stray he didn't know how to get rid of. I just stared at him, the coldest glare I could manage, even though inside me something trembled, not entirely fear, not entirely anger, something more dangerous. He noticed. Of course he did. Alphas like Ryder always notice. The Hale Ranch was enormous, a sweep of land that looked endless beneath the moon. Wooden fences, reddish dust, and a silence so thick it felt like a warning. Ryder led me inside his massive log cabin, the warmth of the place completely at odds with the brutality of the situation. "You're safe here," he said, as if that meant a damn thing. As if I wasn't locked inside with a man whose reputation was powerful enough to send grown men running. His voice was low, rough, like gravel warmed by heat. I hated that it sent a chill down my spine. "And if I don't want to be here?" I asked, my voice calm in a way that annoyed him. Ryder didn't answer. He only stared at mid-deep hazel eyes, stormy and unreadably as if he could puzzle out every thought I tried to hide. "My name is Eli Navarro. I'm 19, an unregistered Omega from a small town in Idaho that the world forgot existed. Ryder Hale is 28, a wealthy alpha known for winning everything he touched: land, people, fear. Some said he was ruthless. Others whispered he had a moral code carved into him like a curse. I was about to learn both versions were true. He shoved a bowl of stew into my hands. "Eat." I didn't. He walked away without forcing me, which somehow felt worse. I shouldn't have noticed the way his shoulders looked under his jacket, or how he moved with a quiet power, or how his presence filled the room like a storm rolling in. Omegas aren't supposed to pick up alpha scents unless they're close. I was close, too close. A part of me whispered that this man wasn't going to hurt me. A louder, more terrified part whispered that he could. By the time Ryder returned, the stew had gone cold. He didn't scold me, didn't touch me, didn't even look disappointed. "You'll eat when you're ready," he said simply. Something in my chest tightened. Why wasn't he the monster I'd prepared myself for? Ryder leaned against the counter, arms crossed. "I didn't bring you here to punish you, Eli." I snorted. "Really? Most people call this kidnapping." His jaw tightened. "You were in danger." I stared. "From who?" "You. Not me." His voice dipped, softening in a way that twisted my insides. "Never me." Liar, I thought. Or maybe, God help me, he believed it. I didn't sleep that first night. I sat by the window of the little guest room, the one that locked from the outside, watching the quiet ranch, the cold stars, the fences that marked the end of my world. I kept thinking about the look Ryder had given me. A look that didn't belong on the face of a captor. A look that said he carried his own ghosts. By the second morning, Ryder had established a strange rhythm: soft commands, silent watching, and an odd, infuriating protectiveness that made me want to scream. He gave me clothes, comfortable ones, a sweater that smelled faintly like cedar and something sharper: his scent. He made breakfast, set a plate for me, but didn't sit across from me. He said he didn't want me to feel cornered. It would have been easier if he'd yelled, if he'd acted like every alpha in my nightmares. But Ryder Hale didn't. He was too gentle in the ways that mattered, too distant in the moments I wished he weren't, and too confusing in every damn heartbeat in between. "Why am I here?" I asked him on the third day, unable to stand the uncertainty. Ryder paused, turning from the sink. The sunlight from the window carved sharp lines along his face, highlighting the scar beneath his jaw: thin, silver, old. A story I didn't know yet. "Because someone's after you," he said. "Someone who won't stop." My breath hitched. He wasn't lying. I could tell. "Who?" "Your old town's Alpha Council. They sent trackers. They want you because you're the only unclaimed Omega in the region." His voice hardened. "You know what they do to unregistered Omegas?" I did. My stomach twisted. "But they won't touch you here," Ryder continued. "Not while I'm breathing." My pulse stuttered. That still doesn't explain why you care, I said quietly. Ryder looked at me like he'd been waiting for that question. Because I saw what they were going to do to you, he said. And because you remind me of someone I failed to save. He left the room before I could ask who. Days passed. Enough to blur the edges of my anger. Enough for me to see the cracks beneath Ryder's armor. He wasn't cruel. He wasn't cold. He wasn't indifferent. He was tired, haunted, and trying too hard to keep distance between us physically, emotionally, in every possible way except when he forgot to. Except when he'd catch me before I slipped on the porch frost. Except when he'd notice I hadn't eaten and cook something without a word. Except when his scent wrapped around me like warmth on nights I felt like I was breaking. I was still his captive. But I was beginning to suspect he felt captive to be guilt, by secrets, by a past he kept locked deeper than I kept mine. One evening, as the sun set in a smear of gold and violet across the ranch, I caught him staring at me. Not like he was inspecting me. Not like I was a responsibility. Like he was memorizing me. What? I demanded, more breathless than intended. Ryder blinked. Nothing. That didn't look like nothing. He hesitated. You're different than I expected. I swallowed. Disappointed. No, he said softly. Not at all. My heartbeat did something stupid and reckless. He rubbed the back of his neck, looking suddenly younger, almost shy. I can't let anything happen to you, Eli. And why does that matter to you? I pushed. Ryder stepped closer. I felt the heat of him, the quiet storm of his presence. Because the moment I saw you, he murmured, I knew you didn't deserve the life they wanted to force on you. And because every day you're here he cut himself off, jaw clenching. I should keep my distance. My voice came out a whisper. Do you want to? No, he said, barely audible. I felt the answer like a bruise blooming in my chest. The first time I realized he'd never hurt me was the night a storm knocked out the ranch's power. The wind howled like something alive, rattling the windows. My breaths came too fast, too shallow. Darkness had always been cruel to me. Ryder found me crouched in the hall, hands over my ears, trying not to fall apart. Without asking, he knelt beside me and took my trembling hands gently in his. It's just the wind, he whispered. I didn't know how to breathe. Ryder slowly guided my hand to his chest. His heartbeat was steady, strong. Feel that? As long as you're here, you're safe. Something inside me cracked, sharp and aching. I leaned into him, not because he asked, not because he forced me, because I wanted to. He held me like I was something breakable, something he feared dropping, something he shouldn't want but did anyway. When the power returned, I didn't move away. Neither did he. But the comfort didn't last. It never does. Because the trackers found us. I saw them first, 3 unfamiliar trucks on the ridge at dawn, silhouettes against the pale sky. Ryder swore under his breath, grabbed his rifle, and pulled me behind him with a grip that shook. They found you, he said. Stay behind me, no matter what. Ryder, Eli, please. My chest tightened at the desperation in his voice. He was scared. Not of them. Of losing me. He fired a warning shot as the trackers approached the property line. The echo thundered across the fields. The men shouted something about Omega rights, territory claims, laws twisted against people like me. Ryder shouted back that they'd touch me over his dead body. And I believed him. I believed him too much. But the trackers retreated. For now. And Ryder? He collapsed to his knees the moment they drove away, head bowed, hands shaking. Not from fear. From fury. From helplessness. From something deeper, something that had nothing to do with the trackers and everything to do with me. I knelt in front of him, my hand hovering before I dared touch his cheek. Ryder. His eyes lifted, haunted. I can't lose you, he whispered. You won't. You don't know that. But I know you'd fight for me. His breath hitched. I already am. My fingertips trembled as they brushed the edge of his jaw. Ryder didn't pull away. For the first time, neither did I. Ryder didn't sleep that night. I could hear him pacing the hallway outside my room, the floorboards creaking under his heavy steps. Every time the wind brushed the windows, he stopped, listening, as if the danger could return in an instant. I wanted to tell him to rest. I wanted to tell him I was fine. But the truth was I wasn't fine, and neither was he. By dawn, when light crawled across the wooden floors, Ryder finally appeared in my doorway. His hair was messy, his flannel shirt half-buttoned like he'd thrown it on without thinking. "We're leaving," he said. I sat up in bed. "Leaving where?" "Somewhere safer." He rubbed the back of his neck. "Somewhere they won't find you." My heart pounded. He wasn't wrong. Staying meant waiting for those men to return with more force, more anger, more claim over a life that wasn't theirs. But leaving meant something else entirely. Being alone with Ryder for who knew how long. And that terrified me almost as much. When he looked at me again, something soft flickered across his face. "You trust me enough for this?" I didn't answer immediately. I didn't know how. Trust wasn't something I gave easily. Maybe I didn't give it at all. But with Ryder, I wanted to. "I do," I whispered. His shoulders dropped in visible relief. While Ryder packed supplies into his truck, I stood on the porch, watching the ranch fade from something terrifying into something familiar. This place had held me captive. It had also sheltered me, protected me, changed me. Ryder came up behind me. "We're ready. Will you ever come back here?" I asked. "Maybe," he said after a moment, "but not until I know you're safe. That comes first." The way he said it sent a ripple of heat through my chest, twisting sharply. We drove for hours across the sprawling rural landscape. Montana's endless plains stretched toward the mountains, the horizon shimmering like it held secrets only the wild could understand. Ryder's hand gripped the wheel tightly. Every so often, he'd glance at the rearview mirror, checking for shadows. "You're tense," I murmured. "I'll relax when I know no one's following us." "I didn't ask you to protect me," I said quietly. He exhaled. "You didn't have to." We crossed into a small Wyoming town by late afternoon. It wasn't much. A handful of brick buildings, a diner, a gas station, and mountains looming in the distance like silent sentinels. Ryder parked behind an abandoned barn on the outskirts, checking our surroundings before letting me step out. "This way," he said, guiding me into the barn. Dust motes floated in the shafts of light coming from a cracked window. Hay piled in the corners, and old horse tack still hung on the walls, forgotten but intact. "This is safe?" I asked skeptically. "For now," he said. "The property belongs to someone I trust. Someone he trusts." The thought struck me with unexpected jealousy. "Who?" I tried to sound casual. I failed. Ryder smirked slightly. "An old friend. Lives off-grid. Doesn't like strangers, but owes me a favor. An alpha." "No," Ryder looked at me. "A beta named Lucas. He saved my life once." Before I could ask more, footsteps echoed outside. Ryder moved instantly in front of me, shielding me with his body. But when the barn door opened, the figure who entered wasn't threatening at all. Lucas looked like he'd stepped out of a different world entirely. Mid-30s, warm brown skin, a buzz cut, sharp eyes that softened when they landed on Ryder. "You look like hell," Lucas said, walking in. "You should see the other guys," Ryder answered. I stood awkwardly behind Ryder. Lucas's gaze flicked to me, curious but not invasive. "So this is the Omega," Lucas said quietly. "His name is Eli," Ryder corrected immediately, protective instinct flashing through his voice. Lucas raised an eyebrow. "Noted. Can we stay here?" Ryder asked. Lucas studied him for a long moment before nodding. "Only because it's you. And because you look like you haven't slept in a month." Ryder didn't argue. Lucas led us to a hidden storage room behind the barn. Inside was a small bed, old but clean, a lantern and stacked supplies. "You two can stay here for a few days," he said. "After that, it's too risky." "You're helping us?" I asked softly. Lucas shrugged. "Ryder saved my life once, and he's a pain in the ass, but not the type who deserves trouble." Ryder muttered something that might have been an insult, but Lucas only laughed. When Lucas left, Ryder turned to me. "You okay?" I nodded, though the tightness in my chest told a different story. He stepped closer. "Eli, if this feels overwhelming, tell me. I don't want you to feel trapped." "I don't feel trapped," I swallowed. "Not with you." Ryder froze. His breath caught, just enough for me to notice. "I shouldn't get close," he murmured. "And yet you are," I said. Our faces were inches apart. His scent cedar, smoke, something wild wrapped around me. I felt my pulse pounding behind my ribs, heavy and unsteady. "Eli," he whispered, voice rough. "Tell me to step back." I didn't. Ryder's hand rose slowly, hesitantly, brushing a lock of hair from my cheek. Everything in me shivered. "You don't know what you're doing to me," he said softly. "I think I do," I breathed. He closed his eyes, like the words hurt and healed him at once. "I can't take advantage of you. You're vulnerable." "I'm not," I said. "Not with you. Especially with me," he said. "That's the problem." But he still didn't pull away. Not until Lucas's distant footsteps returned. Lucas brought us dinner soup and bread and insisted we stay hidden. When he left again, Ryder's mood had shifted. He paced the small room like the walls were closing in. "I shouldn't have brought you into this," he muttered. "You didn't have a choice. There's always a choice." I stepped in front of him, forcing him to stop. "Ryder, look at me." His eyes met mine, stormy and intense. "You saved me," I said. "You protected me. And you're doing everything you can to keep me safe. Don't tell me that's wrong." "It is wrong," he snapped. "Because I'm starting to want things I shouldn't want." My breath hitched. He ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. "Eli, you're 19. You're scared. You're hormonal. You're looking for someone to anchor to, and I'm the one nearest. That doesn't mean what you feel is real." I stared at him, stunned by the implication. "You think I'm confused?" I whispered. He didn't answer. Anger sparked under my ribs. "You think I don't know my own feelings? Eli, you think I'm just some fragile kid who'll cling to the first alpha who shows me kindness." Ryder stepped forward. "That's not what I meant." "Then what?" I demanded. He grabbed my shoulders, not hard, but firm enough that I felt the depth of his frustration. "I'm terrified of hurting you." "You're not hurting me," I said. "But pushing me away does." His expression broke, something raw shifting behind his eyes. "I don't deserve how you look at me." "That's not your choice." Our breaths tangled in the small space between us. "Eli," he whispered, "tell me what you want." "You." The word slipped out before I could stop it. Ryder inhaled sharply, as if the single syllable tore through him. But before either of us could move, could act on the tension burning between us, the sound of a truck rumbling down the gravel road shattered the moment. Ryder stiffened instantly. "Get behind me." Lucas burst through the barn door. "We've got a problem." Ryder didn't blink. "How many?" "2 vehicles. Armed. They were asking around town." Lucas looked at me. "They're looking for the kid." Fear shot through me, sharp and cold. Ryder's hand found mine, reflexively warm, strong, grounding. "We have to leave," Lucas said. Ryder nodded. "We'll go through the forest." Lucas tossed him a set of keys. "Take my truck. It's unmarked." "Thank you," Ryder said, his voice thick with sincerity. Lucas shook his head. "Just get him out safe." Ryder pulled me toward the back exit of the barn. The night air was cold enough to sting my lungs as we ran toward the truck. The sound of distant engines grew louder, closing in. "Ryder," I breathed. "They're getting closer." "I won't let them take you," he said, his voice a low promise. When he said it like that, I believed him with everything in me. We reached the truck. Ryder practically shoved me inside before jumping in after me. The engine roared to life, and we tore down the narrow dirt path into the woods. Branches scraped the sides of the truck. The sky disappeared behind a canopy of trees. Ryder drove with fierce precision, jaw clenched, eyes sharp. "They know the area," I whispered. "Doesn't matter," he said. "They're not getting you." His hand briefly reached over, squeezing mine. "Stay with me. Don't look back." But I did, and I saw headlights slicing through the darkness. The chase was a blur of speed and adrenaline. Ryder swerved around fallen branches, mud patches, and narrow bends with terrifying skill. But the headlights behind us didn't fade. They grew brighter. "They're gaining," I said. "Hold on." He hit the gas harder. The truck lurched forward, tires skidding over wet leaves. A sharp turn sent me sliding across the seat. Ryder caught me with one hand, steadying me without looking away from the road. "You okay?" he asked. "Yeah. Good. Don't let go of my arm." The forest thinned ahead. We burst out onto a wider road. Old asphalt cracked and faded. Ryder pushed the truck even faster. The pursuing vehicles followed, engines roaring like monsters chasing prey. "I need a plan," Ryder muttered. Think. Then he saw a narrow bridge ahead, half broken, stretching over a shallow ravine. "Ryder," I warned, "that bridge doesn't look. It'll hold," he said. "It has to." The truck hit the boards with a violent jolt. The wood groaned, creaked, but didn't break. When we reached the other side, Ryder swerved sharply to the right, plunging into a hidden trail obscured by tall grass. He killed the headlights. The truck coasted silently into the shadows. My heartbeat thundered in my ears. The pursuers reached the bridge. Their headlights shone bright across the ravine. I held my breath as they hesitated, engines rumbling angrily. One of them stepped onto the bridge. The weakest board snapped under his boot. He fell halfway through before scrambling back. They shouted to each other, and then they turned around. Ryder didn't move for a full minute. He kept his hand around mine, squeezing it like he needed to make sure I was real, alive, safe. Finally, he exhaled shakily. "We made it." I didn't realize I was crying until his thumb gently wiped a tear from my cheek. "You're safe, Eli," Ryder whispered. "You're safe." But his voice carried something deeper than relief, something like love. He didn't kiss me that night, but he didn't need to. The way he held me, trembling despite his strength, told me everything he wasn't ready to say out loud. And I knew no matter what happened next, I wasn't afraid of Ryder Hale. I was afraid of how much I was beginning to need him. The forest was quiet now, the chase behind us nothing more than a memory soaked into the cold night. Ryder parked the truck in a small clearing, hidden by tall pines and shadows. He cut the engine and sat there a long moment, neither of us speaking. The stars were scattered across the sky, indifferent witnesses to everything that had happened. Finally, Ryder turned to me. His eyes were tired, dark rings framing their intensity. "Eli, I can't promise this will always be safe," he admitted, voice low. "But I can promise that I won't let anything happen to you while I'm around." I leaned against the door, exhaustion and adrenaline mingling in my chest. "Ryder, I don't care about safe right now. I just care about being with you." He froze, like my words had cut through some internal barrier he hadn't realized existed. Then, slowly, carefully, he leaned closer. His hand found my cheek, the warmth of his palm grounding me in a way the world had never allowed. "You're saying that, even after all of this?" "Yes," I whispered, "especially after all of this." His breath hitched, and for a moment, he seemed younger, vulnerable, stripped of all the alpha dominance he wielded so effortlessly. "I shouldn't want you," he said, almost to himself. "You're mine to protect, not to feel this." He faltered, swallowed, then finally pressed his forehead to mine. "But I do. I want you too," I admitted, my voice barely audible. "Ryder, I've wanted you since the first night you brought me here." He closed his eyes, letting the admission settle between us. Then, like a dam breaking, Ryder's lips met mine. It was soft at first, hesitant, tasting of relief and fear and longing all at once. I clung to him, wrapping my arms around his neck, feeling the tension of the past days dissolve into the night. The kiss deepened, passionate but tender, as if both of us had been holding back a lifetime of feelings that now demanded release. When we finally pulled back, Ryder rested his forehead against mine again. "You're mine," he murmured. "In every way I'm allowed." "And you're mine?" I said, smiling despite the tears streaking down my face. "Even the parts you don't admit yet." He chuckled softly, a rare sound that warmed the air around us. "Damn, Eli, you're fearless." I shrugged, leaning into him. "Not fearless, just sure. About this, about us." We stayed like that for hours, wrapped in each other's arms under the quiet canopy of the forest. The danger that had stalked us was still out there, but for the first time it didn't matter. For the first time, I felt like I could breathe without fear. Ryder finally stood, holding out his hand. "Come on, we need to keep moving. I have a place where we can lay low for longer, somewhere they won't even think to look." I took his hand without hesitation. "Lead the way." We moved through the forest, the moonlight guiding our path. Each step felt lighter than the last, not just because we were away from immediate danger, but because the weight we'd been carrying, the fear, the uncertainty, the tension had lifted, replaced with a fragile, beautiful trust. By dawn, we reached a small cabin tucked deep in a valley, almost invisible from the main road. It was simple, unassuming, surrounded by towering pines and a small stream that trickled nearby. Ryder unlocked the door, letting me step inside first. "This is it," he said softly. "Home for now." Inside, the cabin was modest but cozy. A wood stove crackled in the corner, casting flickering shadows across the wooden walls. Ryder set down our packs and turned to me, eyes scanning my face as if trying to memorize every detail. "We'll be safe here, I promise." I nodded, feeling a strange combination of relief and disbelief. "And after this? After the threat passes?" Ryder's gaze softened. "Then we figure out the rest. Together." I smiled. Together. For the first time since I had been taken from my old life, I felt a sense of peace. Not because the danger was gone, wasn't, but because I knew Ryder would be there, beside me, facing whatever came next. That certainty, more than anything, anchored me. We spent the next few days in quiet routines. Ryder hunted. I helped gather what we needed from the nearby forest. We spoke little at first, letting silence fill the spaces where fear used to dominate. But slowly, words returned. Conversations about nothing and everything: music, dreams, silly jokes, stories from the past. Each shared laugh, each quiet touch, built something fragile yet strong between us. One evening, as the sun set in a haze of gold and pink, Ryder brought me a blanket and we sat by the stream outside the cabin. The water reflected the sky, shimmering like molten light. He wrapped the blanket around us both and held me close. "Eli," he said, voice breaking the comfortable silence, "I want to tell you something." I tilted my head, heart skipping. "What?" He hesitated, looking down at the stream. "You've changed me. I didn't know I could feel this way about anyone. And I don't want to lose it. Don't want to lose you." I placed my hand over his. "You won't lose me. Not if you keep holding on." He looked up then, eyes glistening. "I will hold on. Always." The vulnerability in his gaze stripped away every barrier I had, every doubt. I leaned into him, pressing my lips to his again, soft and lingering this time, letting the connection deepen without fear. It wasn't just a kiss, it was a promise. A seal on the bond we had forged through fear, trust, and survival. As night fell, we stayed outside, wrapped in each other's arms, watching the stars emerge one by one. The wind whispered through the pines, carrying away the echoes of danger, leaving only the quiet, intimate world we had created for ourselves. I rested my head against Ryder's chest, listening to his steady heartbeat. For the first time in my life, I felt safe, truly safe. And for the first time, I allowed myself to hope, not just to survive, but to live. Fully, freely, and with someone who cared as deeply as he did. Days turned into weeks. The trackers never returned. The small cabin in the valley became our sanctuary, a place where we could rebuild what had been stolen from me. Ryder's protective nature softened, giving way to tenderness, humor, and affection. And I, once scared and uncertain, found strength in trusting him, trusting us. One morning, I woke to Ryder sitting beside me, his hand brushing my hair back from my forehead. "Morning," he whispered. I smiled sleepily. "Morning." He studied my face for a moment, then grinned. "You know, you scare me sometimes. The way you've been through so much and still fight for everything." "And you?" I asked. "Do you still scare yourself?" He laughed, a warm, genuine sound. "Every day. But I've got you now. That helps." I reached for his hand. "And I've got you." We shared a quiet moment, the kind that needs no words, only presence. The past, the fear, the danger, the uncertainty was behind us. What lay ahead was unknown, but we were together, and that made all the difference. In the end, Ryder and I didn't just survive. We found something more profound than safety. We found love forged in the fires of fear, trust built in the shadows of danger, and a bond that neither time nor circumstance could break. As the sun rose over the valley, painting the cabin and forest in golden light, I realized something. No matter what had happened, no matter how far we had run, we had found home not in a place, but in each other. Ryder wrapped his arms around me, holding me close as the morning warmth spread across the valley. "Home," he whispered, "is wherever we are together." I rested my head on his chest, listening to the steady rhythm of his heartbeat. "Home," I repeated softly. "Yes, home." And for the first time, I believed it. The world could be cruel, uncertain, and unforgiving. But in that moment, with Ryder Hale beside me, I felt invincible. Because love, in its purest form, was stronger than fear, stronger than danger, stronger than everything that had tried to break us. And in that love, I found everything I had been missing all along. We stayed there, wrapped in each other's arms, the quiet world around us a testament to our survival, our love, and the promise of every day we would face together. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.